makes 2 quarts of Kool Aid, Kool Aid. 9 great flavors, the drink you love. Kool Aid, Kool Aid.
For the very best drink you ever made.
Kool Aid, Kool Aid.
Be sure that the envelope says Kool Aid.
You can give your youngsters a lot of pleasure with Kool Aid. You know it's pure and good. It has the Parents Magazine seal. And it's so thrifty. A 5-cent package makes 2 full quarts. Just add Kool Aid to water with ice, add some sugar, and stir.
For the very best drink you ever made.
Be sure that the envelope says Kool Aid.
Imagine you're a child. Imagine you're sleeping in your bed, and it's dark in your room, and then, with no warning, no provocation, through the wall bursts a giant pitcher in shorts screaming at you. You're terrified, confused, but he just keeps bellowing those same 2 dreaded words. Oh yeah! This was, sadly, a reality for many children. This was, sadly, a reality for many children. Kool Aid, for the uninitiated, is a drink mainly targeted toward kids that was extremely popular since its inception, but exceptionally popular during the 80s and 90s. Kool Aid was invented by Edwin Perkins of Hastings, Nebraska, back in the 1920s and eventually sold to General Foods in 1953. But Kool Aid is nothing without its mascot, who is easily one of the most iconic we've ever featured on this show. Kool Aid Man is an anthropomorphic pitcher filled with the drink and was introduced shortly after General Foods acquired the brand in the 1950s. Kool Aid Man, or Kool for short to save time going forward, has possibly one of the most interesting mascot developments in the history of advertising. While his own, and sadly this now sounds like a pun, Koolitization is nowhere near as terrible as the one that befell Chuck E. Cheese. Sorry, Charles Entertainment Cheese, I have to be respectful here. It's also just interesting to watch him evolve in general. See, when they first started pumping out commercials, good old Kool was simply nothing more than a regular old pitcher with a face on it. He spoke, he sang, he partook in the festivities at hand, but that was it. He had no limbs, no real personality. He was just a pitcher of drink. In fact, his original name was simply the Pitcher Man. Created on July 10, 1954 by Marvin Potts, an art director for a New York ad agency hired by General Foods to create an image that would accompany the slogan used to sell the product. Inspired by watching his own son draw smiley faces on a frosted window, he cranked out several designs, with the one we know today being the only one that stuck. From that moment on, General Foods used Pitcher Man in all its advertisements, but in 1974, Kool Aid Man was introduced as a walking, talking, 6-foot-tall pitcher of cherry Kool-Aid, voiced by Grey advertising composer Richard Berg and created by Alan Kupchak and Harold Karp of the same company. This is where, in my opinion, things take a bit of a weird turn. I mean, they took what was essentially just a face on a glass and turned it into a sentient mobile drink man who, with total disregard to people's personal property or privacy, slammed through their fences, walls, and general furnishings to try and sell these poor thirst-parched children himself? I guess? It's never really made clear if the Kool-Aid they're drinking came from Kool himself, and if it does, that raises a whole lot of ethical questions as well, because, oh man, that's just fucking creepy. Here, children, partake in my cannibalistic ritual now that I have destroyed your puny home. Nonetheless, creepy or not, he caught on, and by the 1980s, he had attained pop culture icon status, with his reach culminating in 2 video games, a short-lived comic book series, and a ton of merchandise. Nevertheless, come 1994, the live-action suit character was retired, and from that point until 2008, he was entirely computer-generated, while everyone else around him remained real in live-action. Then, in 2009, they reintroduced the live-action version. All of this begs the question, what the actual fuck is Kool Aid Man?
Neon.
Wake up! You're dreaming. These new mad science twists are really good.
Mad scientist? Where?
No, mad science twists. Rainbow powder. New flavor. Raspberry reaction. Watermelon kiwi.
Oh yeah.
He's seemingly able to change his appearance at will, entering entirely into new forms of existence, traveling between our third and second worlds. At times, he'll be a real physical manifestation. At other times, he's simply a cartoon of some kind. What is this entity, and from where was he birthed? Why is he trying so hard to get children to drink him? So many questions, so few answers, pertaining to this otherworldly demon of drink from our darkest dreams. A few interesting tidbits from the Wikipedia page are that American artist David Hammonds incorporated a stamp of him for a piece that hung in the goddamn Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I find it fascinating that there's an enormous collectible market surrounding vintage Kool-Aid flavor packets, particularly on eBay, with some reaching exorbitant prices. And if you think I'm lying, go see for yourself. But my personal favorite tidbit has to be that he's got a gender. Yes, folks, we've even gone so far as to gender a fucking sentient walking pitcher of drink. Kool Aid Man, like most mascots in this series with a very unintentionally misleading title, is not technically dead. He still exists, he's still around, but I think what we've come to learn here at the show is that it doesn't matter if they're actually dead or not. I think ultimately what constitutes dead in these scenarios really boils down to lost their presence in pop culture in general. They no longer have the stranglehold on us that they once held, and that's what we're dealing with most of the time, really. Kool Aid Man was a success, no question. He sold that motherfucking drink like it was nobody's business. He was appealing to the kids, and they loved the product. Kool Aid Man knocked it out of the park, however inherently creepy he may be. I mean, we're still dealing with a being that can willingly change its own shape and will arrive at your location without any prior warning. So be safe, be careful, and if you see the Kool Aid Man, if he decides to show up in your house one day uninvited, in whatever form he decides to take, just remember, you can run as fast as you can, but he'll catch you. He's the Kool Aid Man.